Hello, my friends. I'm Bee, and this is Bee's Intuition. Today, we're going to do a reading. I thought it would be fun to do a reading about what are you creating right now. I also I don't know. Well, besides my physical health, mental health, I feel like I've been so hesitant to do readings recently, and I feel like it has something to do with like how I would like to tweak them. And I don't know. I'm kind of thinking that maybe I could like start to end these readings with a question to you, and maybe people could like comment their own answers down below, and it might be a fun way to kind of create more community. Um, I don't know. We'll see how it goes. We'll try it. At the end of this reading, we'll see what question arises, and if I remember to do it. Sometimes I get a little distracted by the reading, but we'll see. We'll see. We'll see. Let's roll with it and see what unravels. Okay. So, please and thank you, Spirit. What is the collective creating during this time? Please and thank you. What is the collective creating during this time? Please and thank you, Spirit. What is the collective creating during this time? Please and thank you, Spirit. What is the collective creating? Oh no. And I'm not saying oh no in a bad way. This is a good way. Wow. Okay. Very interesting. Well, let's just show you what we got. We got the 10 of Cups. Very nice. The Queen of Pentacles. Okay. The Star card. All right. The 10 of Wands. The 4 of Swords came out like this. Very nice. Bottom of the deck. 4 of Pentacles. All right. Let's just start clarifying, shall we? Starting with that 10 of Cups. Please and thank you, Spirit. What is the collective creating during this time with that 10 of Cups? What is the collective creating during this time with that 10 of Cups? Please and thank you, Spirit. Very interesting. Okay. Clarifying that 10 of Cups, we have the 2 of Wands in the reverse. And then the Page of Cups upright. Bottom of the deck, the High Priestess. My hands are probably shaky. Sorry. Over-caffeinated. Overly caffeinated. Anyways. Okay, 10 of Cups. That's like ultimate happiness here. Happily ever after kind of vibes. I typically get a sense of community as well with the threads connecting all of these cups, or at least that's how I interpret it, as threads. It gives a sense of community to me. Maybe you're creating a community in which you're going to be very happy. Two of Wands in the reverse. I feel like this could be indicating a couple of different things. One of them, I feel like you could be out of the planning phase of something. Like you've been planning something for a long time, but now it's time to maybe stop planning and start doing. But then the other way could definitely be like you're afraid of planning something. Maybe you're afraid of planning around a community. Maybe you're a loner and you don't depend on other people for things. That could be one thing. I'm also getting that you could also be afraid of planning for your own happiness in the future, because you're not used to being happy, maybe. Like you're maybe expecting the worst when you should be expecting the best or something. Page of Cups. So in this context, I'm taking this Page of Cups as a sign from the universe to believe in magic. Believe that magic is possible. Believe that, like, the pages are seen as like the younger, less experienced persons in the court cards. But there's something here about like small but mighty. So I feel like that's speaking to anyone out there that feels like they're not ready. They feel like they're not as experienced as other people in this sphere of focus. Like they're not prepared enough, they're not wise enough, they're not knowledgeable enough. But it's almost like that could serve you in some way. The fact that you don't know everything, the fact that maybe even the fact that you're not super confident could serve you, because maybe you could give other people that are also not certain hope about pursuing things even if they're not certain. But I feel like there's definitely a message here from Spirit to believe in what is possible, believe in magic happening, believe that the positive unexpected can come into your life. You're also probably a very magical person, and you can probably attract or manifest things into your life if you align your thoughts to that. With the High Priestess at the bottom of the deck, I feel like you could definitely be feeling something coming, but, and I've talked about this in previous readings, it could be you're not sure what it is that's coming to you, so you may be anxious about what's coming to you. But anxiety or nervousness is very close to excitement, and you can actually trick your brain into thinking that you're excited rather than nervous in a good amount of situations. So maybe there's like a message here about not thinking the worst is around the corner, but rather the best is just around the corner. You could feel like there's a shift in the energy and you're just not sure how to interpret that. And I feel like Spirit's message here is to believe that that's a good thing and that things are changing for the better. You also may be finding yourself like self-isolating, and that may be not what Spirit wants you to do or not what you're meant to do during this time. Because I do get that with that 10 of Cups that there's a significant message about building community. And so maybe Spirit wants to influence you to go outside of your comfort zone, open up to other people, become more vocal, become more, put yourself out there a little bit more, maybe. Let's see what's underneath that High Priestess. 7 of Pentacles, yeah. There is this desire to see what's coming before it gets here. You also may be mid-project in something. Like you're midway through a project and you're not seeing the payoff quite yet. And so maybe you're getting to this point where it's like, is this worth continuing? Should I keep going? Maybe you're self-doubting yourself. Like, I'm getting this message about like, is the payoff worth all of the hard work that you're investing in this thing? That could definitely be your mindset. but it's like you're ready for something to change, something to grow, something to pay off, but you feel like it hasn't come yet. And maybe part of you is uncertain if it ever will. But I feel like you're on the right path to manifesting the outcome that you want. Like it feels like you're doing the right actions, you're investing in the right things. It just may be part of the process to kind of be in this area of like uncertainty. It definitely could be requiring some patience on your part. It also could be a time in which you're like going through things. And this could be in your personal life, not even necessarily attached to career or projects, but it's almost like a feeling of spring cleaning to an extent, where you're kind of going through your life, seeing what is worth the hard work, what is not, what's worth the investment, what's not, and focusing your energy more so on the things that will pay off and do serve you in some way, and putting those other things away outside that are just draining you and not really giving anything back. So maybe there's like a bit of that going on as well, where you're kind of just like sorting through things in your life. Like, does this serve me? Is this going anywhere? Like, I'm even getting like a subplot of maybe even a romantic situation where it's like you don't feel movement in that area and you don't see progress in that area. And so maybe you're considering moving on from that situation. And that could be exactly what you need to do. And maybe that's what spirit is kind of guiding you to do even. I feel like honestly that could be really helpful for you, is like if you've been inclined to kind of do that sort of sorting out in your personal life of just like, you know, what is serving me, what is not, what is worth the investment, what is not, and acting accordingly to that. That could be very helpful for you during this time and make you feel better about things. Let's see what's underneath that Seven of Pentacles. Nine of Pentacles. So yeah, you're on your way to success, stability, abundance, feeling really good about where you're at. It's just a matter of patience, sticking with it long enough to see that payoff. It feels like your future is going to feel much happier, which goes along with that Ten of Cups. I do feel like you're going to be coming into a time of happiness and things feeling right. It feels almost like right now, it's almost like you're going through a tunnel. And maybe you're like halfway through that tunnel and you're starting to think like, am I ever going to see the other end of this tunnel? But if you keep going, you will see that other end. And if you stop, you're just going to be stuck in that tunnel forever. And if you turn around and go back, you're going to be at the same place that you started. So I feel like there's something about that where it's like you just need to trust the process. Have faith in yourself. Have faith in your guiding light, your purpose, spirit, whatever it is that helps you get the inspiration, motivation to go towards your goals. Yeah. But I do feel like your future's looking bright, so trust that. And trust that you know what is best for you. Trust that you know what is worth the investment and what is not. And also don't be afraid to try. And that's another thing too, is like maybe in the process of figuring out what is serving you, what is not, all that sort of thing. And you're starting to clear away the things that no longer serve you or never served you. And it could leave kind of like a gap there. And so maybe Spirit would like you to find out what you would like to fill that gap with. Maybe projects, passion projects, hobbies, the arts, like certain things that fill your soul and you find actually are worth the payoff and give you some sense of satisfaction. And just like, don't be afraid to start new things, new projects, especially if you feel very inclined towards them. That could really help you a lot. And Spirit may be encouraging you to do that. So if you feel that inclination towards starting up a new project or starting a new craft, starting whatever it is, it could actually serve you. And it may be exactly what you need. So definitely do that, I think. Okay. So let's go on to the Queen of Pentacles. Please and thank you, Spirit. What is the collective creating during this time? Please and thank you. With the Queen of Pentacles. Please and thank you. Please and thank you. Oh, please and thank you. Oh, yeah. Okay. Oh, Mamma Mia. Okay, Mamma Mia indeed. Mamma Mia indeed. Okay. So, clarifying that Queen of Pentacles, we have the Fool card. Okay. Definitely a new beginning on the horizon for you. Something very positive. So, yeah, that could literally be you starting a new project, like I was just saying. And this new project could lead to your abundance and your feelings of stability and security in your life. Like feeling good, feeling solid. This new project could lead to that feeling. So, yeah, definitely trust. Trust in your inner guidance. Trust in Spirit. Trust in yourself. Trust in those new projects and see where they take you. It really is kind of giving me this feeling of like a new adventure opening up for you. Maybe you see this new project as an adventure of some sort. I don't know why, but I'm getting very, like, strongly in my mind, like, travel. Like, I'm seeing a car. Like, I'm seeing, like, a road trip. That kind of thing. Maybe there's a road trip involved in this new project. Maybe this new project calls for you to explore things more. And also, maybe if there is some sort of road trip, it could be like who you have with you that's like very significant, like a friend or family members, or like it's something about like the company you keep could be very significant for you in a positive way. Okay. And then we also have the Knight of Wands. I do see that something is sparking your passion here. Like, I feel like something is getting your creative juices flowing and you want to go towards that. And I feel like that's exactly what you're meant to do. So if you feel like motivated, inspired, like I honestly am tempted to say, like, even if, I don't know why, this is like such a strange message, but it's almost like if you're even feeling slightly impulsive when it comes to like a new activity and you're just like, I've never really thought about myself doing that thing, but I saw this like cool video on TikTok, or, you know, I saw somebody on social media talking about their process doing that, and I thought it was so cool. And I almost feel like don't give in to the thoughts of doubt, because I'm almost getting this feeling of like, the more you think about doing it, the more you're gonna talk yourself out of doing it. And it's almost like there's this energy of like getting that idea and acting upon it. Not thinking about acting upon it, but acting upon it. And that could actually be really helpful, especially for the overthinkers out there that can think themselves into any sort of mucky situation. Because it could be very beautiful inspiration, a very beautiful new project. And you're called towards it, but then it's like your ego starts to kick in, and it's like, oh, but what if I mess up? What if I look like a idiot? What if I make a fool of myself? And I feel like a way to kind of get around that is to just do it. And of course, I'm not saying to do this like with anything reckless, like skydiving or something like that. Like, obviously, if it's something very important or impactful, um, definitely think it out. But like when it comes to like simply taking up a new hobby, or it's getting to the time in the year where it's really kind of like the ending of winter, more or less. And so maybe you're starting to plan things for the springtime. And, what if it's like roller skating? What if you're like, I have always wanted to roller skate, but I've never done it or whatever. And it's like, but this summer, this spring, this summer, I am determined to learn how to roller skate. And so maybe you want to buy a helmet, knee pads, so that you have like no excuses not to do that thing. I don't know, something like that could be significant for you. It may not even be necessarily roller skating right now, but maybe making preparations right now for those things in the future. But yeah, especially if it's like something that's not gonna like put you in debt, something that's not gonna uh, threaten your life or anything like that, or safety of other people, go for it. Because I think that we talk ourselves out of things so easily. Like it's so easy to talk ourselves out of something than it is to just do it. Because I feel like we have a million reasons not to do something, and we only really need one reason to do something, and that is that we want to do it. But I feel like as humans, we definitely overcomplicate these sort of things. And definitely do not take anybody else's opinion into consideration unless it is something reckless. Of course, like if it actually like has real life impacts that are significant and life altering, like that's like a completely different thing. But if it's literally just taking up a new hobby or working on a project that you've always wanted to work on. I'm also right now getting a image in my mind of somebody building a book from scratch, like literally like figuring out how to like put the papers together inside of that book, and what do you want to use for cover. Somebody that's going like really in depth into that. So like literally, like it could be anything. Like if it's something that is strange or a little bit out there, but you're called to it, I feel like you could definitely go towards that and have it become something very beautiful and something that you're very proud of doing. So definitely go for like those things that you feel like an inclination towards during this time. Then we have the Two of Pentacles. Okay, yeah, so I'm picking up on this energy that you could definitely go back and forth. And this, I feel like I'm connecting with somebody that may be a little bit of an overthinker. And I don't blame you, because I'm also an overthinker. It almost feels like maybe you feel like your energy is kind of like going up and down, and like, one day or maybe one part of the day you're just like so energetic, so motivated, but then by the end of the day you're just like, nah, I don't want to do that. Like JK, I didn't mean that. So you may be kind of struggling with like finding a balance within yourself, maybe in terms of energy, emotions, mental state, thoughts. Feels like there's just a lot of fluctuation. And I would say to that, to like, I feel like sometimes we almost resist that. Or at least I do. I tend to kind of resist that feeling of like, if I start to lose energy or motivation on something, I tend to like, kind of beat myself up over it. Like, oh, why are you losing energy now? Let's just drink a lot of coffee and, try to avoid that. And then it always never works, in my opinion, where it's like, if my body is tired, it's tired, and I can't do anything to really fix that in that moment. So like, no matter how much coffee I drink or caffeinated beverages I drink, doesn't impact it. And instead of, beating myself up about it, why don't we instead kind of lean into those ebbs and flows and waves that we experience inside of ourselves. Like, it's almost feeling like radical acceptance to an extent. And I'm not saying necessarily like turn that low energy into a bed rot sort of situation, but just accept that, okay, maybe this is a moment where I need to take some rest for myself because that's what my body is calling me to do, and just accept it as that. And also, when it comes to like gravitating towards new projects, you know, finding things that motivate us, exploring new things, it could also be like maybe you're finding things that align with your energy level, you know, and you're taking into consideration that you have those ebbs and flows. Sometimes your energy is up and you have more energy to do certain tasks, and then maybe your energy is lower and so you have only a little bit of energy to do certain tasks, and maybe accommodate for those energies where you're like, okay, this project I can do when I'm high energy, and then this other project is pretty low effort, low energy activity. I can probably do that while I'm in bed, you know? So I feel like there's almost like this this urging from spirit to maybe lean into those fluctuations, not judge yourself, and maybe also tailor your projects to those energies that you embody. Like, so that you don't judge yourself, so that you're not like super harsh against yourself, and you can still find things that feed your soul. They're just adjusted to your energy level and what you're able to do in that moment. Hopefully that makes sense for somebody out there. And then we have the 9 of Pentacles and the 7 of Pentacles. It feels like a lot of abundance. I'm almost even getting this energy of like finding your niche in some way. I do feel like you're going to be hitting your stride. Is that the saying? There's something here that I feel like you're going to be called towards. And when you start to pursue it, it really feeds you. Like, it feeds your soul, but it also feeds how you feel about yourself and where you're at in life. Because you're doing something that means a lot to you, and you're doing something that maybe you feel like you're really good at. And maybe it's like one of those things where like you would have never known you're good at this thing if you didn't try. And it could be something that's completely out of your realm of interest typically, you know? Like I'm now getting like D&D, and it's like maybe you are somebody that's never even thought about doing D&D, but maybe you start to listen to podcasters that do D&D. Maybe one of your friends does D&D, so you want to like watch them play with their friends or something. Like, or maybe you find a community online that does D&D. Like, and obviously that's just like an example, doesn't have to be necessarily what you're experiencing, but it could be something like that where it's like, I never would have thought that I was interested in this, but I actually am, and this makes me really happy. And maybe you find out I'm actually really good at this, and it brings me happiness, and through that maybe you build community. That goes back to the 10 of Cups that we had earlier. And yeah, maybe that sense of community grounds you, stabilizes you, makes you feel very secure in who you are and where you are at in life. Finding people that are like-minded. And that's the beautiful thing about trying new things, is like you can meet new people through these new communities, like these new areas of interest that are also communities. I feel like with that 7 of Pentacles, that's definitely indicating to have patience with yourself along this journey of trying new things, experimenting. Kind of like I'm getting like somebody that's in a clothes shop and they're like trying on different outfits. Like, is this me? Nah, I don't really like that. Let me try this different outfit. Okay, this one feels more like my style. And so it may be a sort of process in which you're like experimenting with these new projects, you're kind of exploring things, and maybe at first you struggle. Going back to the example of roller skating, maybe you have a hard time at first finding your balance. Maybe you struggle at first with like falling down. But that's what the knee pads are for, right? And the helmet. And, you know, if you don't give up on that thing, maybe eventually you become so darn good at roller skating that you're helping other people learn how to roller skate, you know? And you can be like, don't worry, I started out in the same place as you. I was also terrible at roller skating, but I am better now. And this is how I got better, kind of thing. So I feel like there's definitely a message here about having patience with yourself and this journey that you're going down. And the last card we had to clarify that Queen of Pentacles is the King of Wands. And especially with that context now, you could literally become a master at something here with that King of Wands. And that's probably why you need to have patience with yourself, is because if you give up as you're just starting something out, you're never allowing yourself to see your own growth. And I feel like that's probably where a good amount of our confidence comes from, and our self-valuing is like, are we proud of those moments in which I gotta be careful with how I word this, because some situations are totally fine to give up on, you know, especially if it's like a one-sided relationship, you know, or something toxic like that. But there are certain things where it's like if it's just like a new hobby or something, and we give up on it like before we even give ourselves like a real chance to try or to learn over time, and instead we just scrap the idea and we give up on it. We say, oh, this is pointless, I'll never be able to do this thing, like, why am I even trying? You could be starving yourself of seeing your own growth, growing confidence in a certain area of your life. Because a lot of the time, these projects and these new endeavors that we take on are really just a matter of us being consistent and regular. And like, I really do believe in a lot of cases, we don't have to be born with these natural skills and abilities to be good at something. It's just a lot of consistency and practice. And then we become the master. And it's like, yeah, like I feel like when you get to this point in which you are mastering whatever this new project is, you're going to be way more, I feel like you're going to feel good about yourself. You're going to feel much more confident and open with others. Like, you could definitely come to the point where you teach other people that thing, because you could become so experienced and so, like, it really does feel like your own experience inspires other people, because you never gave up. You started out at square one and you had no idea what you were doing, and now you're like a master of that thing, and you can show other people how you did it, and that will make an impact on other people. And it could also, it could make an impact on how other people see you, because like, if you're knowledgeable about this thing, like, it feels like you're gonna be feeling good, and people will be, you're gonna be feeling good about who you are, where you are. And I feel like other people are gonna pick up on the energy and find you very attractive. I don't know why. The King of Wands is very attractive, but like, your knowledge of this thing will help you to be seen as attractive or something. Like, your knowledge is attractive. Your confidence in yourself in this area of expertise is very attractive. Yeah. like it. Bottom of the deck, we have the Four of Swords. I do get this resting energy of like hibernation. I'm seeing a bear waking up from hibernation in my mind's eye. Yeah, you could have been kind of self-isolating for a while, kind of just doing your own thing, resting, kind of caring for yourself. And I think that was the right thing to do for sure, for maybe a period of time. But it almost feels like you're ready to shake off that old energy of self-isolating and closing yourself off to other people or whatever, closing yourself away from the world. And it's like maybe time to kind of come out of your hibernation. And it's not necessarily that you have to rush out of this hibernation period. Definitely take baby steps if that's what you're most comfortable with. But it feels like you could be finding yourself inspired, motivated, or just drawn to open up more and embrace maybe social situations a little bit more, or other people, interactions with other people in the world at large, maybe. Going outside of your comfort zone could be very beneficial for you. Let's see what's underneath that Four of Swords. Five of Wands. There could be a fear of conflict in some way, or a fear of competition. So maybe there's something that you want to pursue, but maybe you find the culture around that thing to be very competitive, maybe even cutthroat. I would just wonder if there's a way to maybe tweak it in your own way, to kind of make it more comfortable for you to explore. Like, I'm getting in my mind's eye like this soccer energy. And it's like, you don't have to join the local soccer team or whatever. Maybe you could just like go to a park with a soccer ball and kind of kick it around a little bit and just like feel it out a little bit. And then maybe open up to your friends about how you're starting to like get curious about soccer, and maybe they would like to play, and maybe it's a lot less high stakes when you're around friends, like people that won't judge you and criticize you and be super competitive, you know what I mean? So maybe like finding your own community of people that are like more kind, caring, compassionate, and won't be like, oh my god, you're like so bad at this, and you know, you're never gonna have a future in soccer, blah, blah, blah. Like, I think that there are ways to like tweak things to avoid the parts of something that maybe we don't align with, such as competition, or people just being rude. And so maybe you find that kind of in your situation. You're like, okay, well, maybe I can tweak this and this and build my own community where we're not judging each other. And maybe we're all starting out fresh and we all know nothing about soccer, but we're curious, you know? But yeah, that could be a fear that you're kind of overcoming, is like that fear of conflict or fear of competition. Let's see what's underneath that Five of Wands. Wheel of Fortune. Yeah, that is telling me that the energies are shifting for you. So that's kind of along the lines of that hibernation message, where it's like you're being called maybe to move outside of hibernation now. Maybe you start with the door open just a little bit, and then eventually you want the door open all the way. And so maybe you're just like opening the door a little bit, peeking out, seeing what is to see out there. And then they're like, okay, that looks pretty good. Creek. Okay, it's open a little bit more. Let's get a little bit more of a peek outside there, see what's out there. And then eventually it opens all the way and you're like, hey, this is pretty cool. So definitely take baby steps if that is what you feel like you need to do to get started on something. I'm being very called to the books, the figures reading the books around the edges. And so maybe there's some sort of research that would help you prepare for this thing. Could also just be indicating that this is a learning experience of some sort. Like it's an ongoing process. And that's another thing too, is like sometimes we learn from being hands-on with something. Not all of us are great book learners, you know? Not all of us can like read a book and get the information from that and, you know, apply that, blah, blah, blah. Sometimes we actually need to be there and do the thing in order for us to actually process the way in which you do those types of things. For some reason, I'm getting gardening. Like, I keep getting like these examples in my mind. Like I'm getting like, you can research for days about gardening and what to do, like what kind of soil to use, you know, figuring out, I forget what the name of it is, like when you're figuring out like your zone, I want to say, of like the time of year in which you start planting, you know, something along those lines. But yeah, so it's like you can research all you want, but it's never gonna really be the same as if you were to garden with your own two hands and learn from experience. And so I feel like don't be afraid to work with your hands, do the thing, and learn through doing that thing over a long period of time until you start to master it, until you start to understand it more, until you learn the rhythm of whatever that thing is. Yeah. But I do feel like things are going to start to get exciting for you because I feel like you kind of also went through this period of time in which there wasn't a lot of action. And maybe there was just like, things may have not been good or bad. They kind of just were meh for a while. But I feel like there's something about like, things are going to start speeding up for you, I think. But in a good way, in an exciting way. I think this is exactly what you need in the timing that you need it. Because I feel like you're almost craving something to energize you, to motivate you, to inspire you. And I feel like that's what's going to be coming for you. Okay. Let's go on to the star card now. Please and thank you, Spirit. What is the collective creating in that star card? Please and thank you, Spirit. What is the collective creating with the star card? Okay, so for that star card, we have the Devil coming out in that direction. Six of Pentacles coming out in that direction. Ace of Wands coming out in that direction. And then bottom of the deck, we have Nine of Wands. Okay, clarifying the star card. It's very interesting energy we got here. I really feel like this Devil card is talking about self-doubt and fear. And it's almost like fear around being seen. And also like, I'm getting self-doubt like around like finding a purpose or people seeing you live your truth or seeing you pursue something. It feels a lot like attached to the ego maybe. Like I almost get this sense of like, what if I make myself, like what if I look like a fool when I'm doing this thing? Or what if I'm almost even getting like, what if I'm at the top of my game and then everything comes crumbling, crashing down around me and there's no way back. It kind of feels like a little bit of like catastrophizing. So it's like before you even try, you're like already seeing how everything is going to fall apart and burst into flames in front of your very eyes. But I don't think that that is how it's going to happen. I just think that that's a very convincing inner voice that you have. And I feel like it restricts you in a lot of ways. And it probably is like restricting you from trying new things, from exploring new things, from trying and failing at things, because that's part of the process. I really do feel like when we are learning something new, when we are doing something that we're really called to do, there will be a part in the process that is doing badly at that thing, you know, and making mistakes and maybe failing in certain regards. But we can get past that and succeed in the end. And I feel like that's the important part, is going, even if we feel like we're headed towards failure, or if we are experiencing failure. There's like a song by Sleeping with Sirens that's coming into my mind right now. I wish I could remember the name of it, but there's like a part of the song that is like of course my brain is like, I know the words, but I also like don't know the words at the same time. My brain is just going blank. It's like something about like don't give up if you're losing or something. You haven't lost. Yeah, kind of like pretty much like keep going even if it looks like all hope is lost and that you're failing at something, or that you just failed at something or something, because it's like you haven't lost yet. You only lose when you believe you've lost. You know what I mean? And that's kind of like the energy I'm trying to give to you. Like that message. Like, don't give up just because things look bleak, because you could still win. Like, even if things look real bad. There's something about this star card that is like trying to tell me something. I do think that there is something about you like standing out in some sort of way, and that could be something that you're afraid of. It does. It feels like you're afraid to be seen. But it's like not being seen in a bad way, though. It's like just being seen in general, or just being seen for your good things, like your good qualities. Well, I suppose I can understand that to an extent. Because it's almost like maybe you're afraid of like, say social media. You want to be like a social media influencer or something. And maybe if people sort of compile the idea of you as just a sum of all your really good parts, and they kind of like put a label on you as like the wholesome king or whoever, regardless of gender, like you're just like you're like, maybe a community starts around you and they're like, wow, this person can never go wrong, and they're so awesome in so many ways and they have no flaws and blah blah blah. And so maybe you're like scared to kind of be put in that position, because maybe you're not perfect and you've made mistakes in the past, and you're constantly still making mistakes, because we all are as humans. And so it's like maybe you're afraid of like almost being seen as too good, because you're like, well, I don't really identify with being wholly good. I identify with being human. And humans are there was a quote from one of my shows that I really liked. Something along the lines of like, people are a curious mixture of good and bad. And that's coming from Lark Rise to Candleford is one of my favorite shows, shows. And I believe it was Robert Timmons that had that quote. Um, yeah, so pretty much like all humans are flawed in some way. All humans have made mistakes and probably will continue to make mistakes. Um, just hopefully not mistakes that are as big or as bad as we did in the past, you know? Hopefully overall an upward turn, but you know, we're human. We're gonna still, it's just part of the process, you know? But yeah, so I do get this sense of like fear of being seen and maybe even possibly being seen for all of your good parts. And then there's the other part of that as well, where it's like you're being seen for all your good parts and you almost like have some sort of like, I don't know if cognitive dissonance is the right word or term for it, but kind of like you identify maybe with your more shadow aspects. And so you almost feel like a liar or a fake if people notice your good parts. And maybe they notice those good parts first before seeing the negative parts of yourself. And you're like, I don't want to have to live a lie. Or when this person finally sees all of the bad parts about me, they're not going to want anything to do with me. Definitely, I feel like there's like a lot of fear around being seen that you could be struggling with that. But I don't think that that's going to be a permanent thing because we have the Six of Pentacles and Ace of Wands coming out like that. I'm getting with the following the Devil with that Six of Pentacles. I'm almost getting like maybe somebody could even offer you some sort of advice or opportunity here to achieve a sense of balance within yourself, within your life, within your stability, security within yourself. So maybe somebody could even be trying to build up your confidence in some way, or something just so happens to build up your confidence in some way to make you more empowered and less fearful of being seen and doing the things that you want to do. Because it's like when you get that advice or energy coming in that helps you kind of gain more certainty, the Ace of Wands is like here to say like, yeah, let's go for it. Let's just do it, dude, kind of energy. Like I feel like you could be much more ready for something than you thought you were originally. And maybe somebody or something comes in to kind of remind you that you're ready and you don't need to overthink this, or you don't need to feel afraid of pursuing this thing. Definitely could be something creative that you're very drawn towards. Like it feels like I'm getting in my mind's eye like somebody doing something with a pencil. I don't know if it's writing or drawing. So it could be like literally art or writing, or maybe something that's using your hands in some way. Doesn't even have to be necessarily art or writing. Like I'm getting wood carving. Yeah, literally could be anything. And honestly, that could be really satisfying. Doing something with your hands, maybe if it's repetitious and you're just like doing this thing, and it's like it can even become sort of like a stim to a certain extent, and that could help feel calmer, more stable. So like it could help you in multiple ways, honestly. These new projects, these explorations in creativity or outlets for your creativity. I feel like it will serve you overall, because that star card is really indicating that you're headed towards your true path, your true purpose. And also I'm getting like this sense of your most authentic self. Maybe accepting yourself, embracing who you are, and no longer being afraid of being who you are and showing up as who you are and what you're doing. Yeah. Bottom of the deck is the Nine of Wands. So I am kind of getting, especially with the way that that Devil card was coming across, is like, you probably have had like a lot of experiences of being judged, of being hurt by other people, feeling like you weren't safe to be seen. Like it wasn't safe for you to be seen. I'm getting like that saying, you know, it's kind of like an old-fashioned saying now, but it was very common with like telling your children that like children should be seen, not heard, which I have thoughts about that, but just an unfortunate saying. Very repressing to anybody that had to live like that, especially in their developmental years. But you could have been raised in that sort of way, where you weren't really allowed to be authentic, you weren't really allowed to express who you are, what you were feeling, what you were experiencing. And so it could be like a completely different experience, completely outside of your comfort zone, to express what you like and how you feel and what you want to pursue, all that sort of thing. But I do feel like you're being pushed outside of your comfort zone for a reason here. And maybe you're supposed to move outside of your comfort zone even if you are super uncomfortable. Because it's like on the other side, you could be coming into so much fulfillment and contentment. But yeah, I feel like you probably were judged a lot. You're probably could have been bullied. You could have been mistreated. Because especially with the way that the wall, this guy kind of built up a wall around him to kind of protect who he really is. Like, nobody wants to see me. They want to see this wall. But it's like, no, I think people are wanting to see you now. And so, yeah, it's like you kind of have to come out of your shell, maybe. And kind of trust that your past is not going to repeat in your future. Like, nobody's going to bully you for liking a certain thing or experimenting with a certain thing. Nobody's going to be like, how dare you have a inclination towards this certain project or something. I don't know. And if they are like that, they don't really matter, because they don't really care about you or your true happiness. Let's see what's underneath that Nine of Wands. King of Swords. I do get with that King of Swords that you're probably very used to concealing your emotions, especially. And that could have allowed you to get certain power. And maybe it was like taking back your power to a certain extent, depending on the situation. And so it's like maybe you're very uncomfortable now expressing your emotions, expressing yourself in general, maybe, because you've kind of grown this stoic sort of persona. But it's like, it's just a snippet of you, though. It's not like your full person. And I almost get this like thirst or hunger from other people. They want to see the full version of you, the unfiltered version of you, the most raw and authentic version of you. I feel like you've left enough things to the imagination now, and it's time for you to, yeah, go outside your comfort zone, express yourself more. Because you may have gotten a little bit too used to suppressing certain things, or, you know, not showing off certain parts of yourself. And also, that could also happen when you start to analyze certain narratives that you've built up over your lifetime. And those narratives are built off of other people's opinions rather than how you genuinely feel. Like, say your favorite color is green, and growing up, people would bully you about liking green. Like, ew, you like the color green? That's the color of pickles, and pickles are gross. Oh, you're gross for liking the color green. And so then you like develop this complex and this narrative about like, I can't tell anyone that I like the color green because I was so ridiculed for liking the color green, and people are only going to think it's gross, and they're going to think I'm a freak, and like, you know, that like all builds up. And then later on in life, you're like, somebody asks you your favorite color, and you're like, I can't tell them the truth. I can't tell them that I like green. Let me lie and say it's red or something like that. And you're like actively suppressing. And this is just an example, like a strange little example. Usually these are deeper things than just a certain color. But you kind of get what I'm trying to say, right? And you start to like tailor yourself to what you think other people want to hear rather than who you genuinely are, what you genuinely believe in. But yeah, I feel like analyzing those types of narratives around why you're afraid to express something, why you're like what you believe, and why that belief is not maybe genuine to who you are and what you believe, but rather a byproduct of people judging you in your youth or your developmental years. Let's see what's underneath that King of Swords. King of Cups, yes. So it's like right under that facade of like being emotionless, you have a whole emotional person behind that has been ignored, that has been suppressed, that has been not allowed to come out, not being allowed to shine, not being allowed to be seen. And it's time for you to show that person off within yourself, that emotional person, that person that has emotions, that has genuine feelings and expressions and ways of being that you may have felt were not safe for you to express in the past. But it's like, you're safe now. You're safe now in the present moment. So do not be afraid to open that up. The right people are going to want to see that and experience that. Okay, let's go into the Ten of Wands. Please and thank you, Spirit. What is the collective creating with this Ten of Wands? Please and thank you, Spirit. What is the collective creating with a 10 every range? 10 range. Thank you. Oh my, that's probably way too much. We're gonna take it anyways. Okay. Put that on top. Okay, we'll take it like that. Okay, quite a bit. But we're gonna roll with it. Okay. Ten of Wands, clarified by the Hierophant, the Lovers, Ten of Swords, Two of Cups, okay, Ace of Swords, Six of Wands, and Five of Pentacles. And then bottom of the deck, we hit King of Swords again. Okay. Let's see. Ten of Wands is usually a feeling of like being overburdened, overwhelmed. things weighing you down, holding you back. But with that 10 of Swords that came out and that 5 of Pentacles that came out, they're like surrounded by really good cards, like pretty positive messages. And so I feel like I do feel this sense of kind of being up and down, kind of like we were getting earlier with that 2 of Pentacles that we saw. Like sometimes you're feeling really good, but then other times you're feeling really bad. This could be about yourself or about things happening in your 3D. Like with the Hierophant, I'm almost getting this message about like you feel so close to a breakthrough. You feel like you're very close to a breakthrough. Maybe when it comes to knowledge or wisdom or something that you really care about, starting in like a new phase of your life. I don't know, there's something about being on the cusp of something with that Hierophant. Could have to do with romance. Maybe you felt like your romantic life is just like bordering or like teetering on the edge of like being good. And maybe it's like a matter of like the people that you meet, you're like, oh, this person's almost my type, or this person would be so great if they actually put in effort, you know, like something like that. Like it could be something that has to do with that. Like maybe you're like looking for your soulmate and you're like, oh, I feel like I'm so close to meeting the right person, but all of these people just haven't worked out, you know? I don't know. There's something about being on the edge for something beautiful. And then the Lovers card. I feel like you've been like actively making better decisions for yourself that are more aligned with your beliefs, your spirituality, the things you want to achieve. And you're like, okay, I'm doing all the right things. So why am I not seeing the payoff? Or why am I not feeling any better? Is the energy I'm getting. And that would make a lot of sense with that 10 of Swords following in. The 10 of Swords is a very painful ending typically. A lot of betrayal, pain. I'm getting disharmony. So I do feel like this could be like maybe a subplot here about some sort of potential for a relationship that didn't work out for you when you were like very bummed out, very heartbroken about that. And I feel like rightfully so. Because like those are 2 major arcana, the Hierophant, the Lovers. So like this probably was a significant connection if this is like a subplot of yours where like something didn't work out romantically. You really could have seen this person as like your future spouse, could have seen them as a soulmate, like a divine connection, like the stars aligned for the 2 of you to come together. And then it just didn't work out. It was like, it almost, yeah, it's like it's almost like I'm getting like on a race car track, like a car that's like driving up and the finish line is here and the car just like stops just before the finish line. Maybe even goes in the reverse. And you're just like you're so close. Why didn't you just finish? Or, you know, why didn't you just do the damn thing? Somebody could have gotten cold feet, maybe, is what I'm getting. Like it feels like you were doing everything right on your end, but the other person either was not aligning with that energy. Maybe they were conflicted about aligning themselves with that energy, and they either backed off or something didn't work out, something fell through, and you were devastated as a result of that. And maybe all of this energy that I'm describing is what contributes to that 10 of Wands that we're clarifying. That feeling of just being overburdened, heavy, like when are things finally going to get better? Like I do feel this sense of a lot of frustration. Because it really does. It feels like you're like doing everything right and you're like, why am I not seeing the payoff? Why am I not getting the same energy back that I'm giving? Definitely feels very frustrated. But at the same time, I would just say that like with the 10 of Swords, even though it looks very bleak in the image here, the sun is rising on the horizon. A new dawn will rise. A new beginning will happen for you. And it does not have to play out the same as your past. And it most likely will not play out the same as your past, even if that's what you're fearing. And maybe this painful ending kind of had to happen for a reason. And I know that that sounds annoying, right? Because it's like, what good could possibly come out of this painful situation? But it's almost like maybe you needed this sort of abrupt ending so that you were able to process that, heal from that, and then in that timing you meet the person that you're actually supposed to be with, or something along those lines. Like maybe it had to happen in the way that it did in order for you to do certain things that bring about your actual soulmate and meeting that person. So I would definitely say like to not give up on love, even if you've had a rough go at it, which it feels like you probably have. You could also be overthinking when it comes to love, and maybe you're like, these ideas of finding a soulmate, finding my future spouse feel like so far away from me. And so I shouldn't even try. I should just give up and, accept my loneliness and my fate of being alone forever. But I really don't feel like that's going to serve you. And maybe part of you knows that. But it might also be kind of like part of your ego kind of like being like, yeah, give up. Nobody's ever going to love you. Because the ego can be kind of mean sometimes, And it's just trying to protect us, but it can be pretty nasty. So don't listen to that voice that is saying like nobody's ever going to love you, because you are lovable. Everybody is lovable. No matter what kind of mistakes we have made, every human being with a pulse is lovable and worthy of respect and being loved by another person. I don't know who needs to hear that, but that could be definitely significant for somebody out there. We live in a society in which we are told that if you are a certain way, then you're less lovable. Or if you've done certain things, you're less lovable. Or if you have certain things going on in your life, you're less lovable and less worthy of respect. And that is completely a falsehood that humanity has made up. I do believe that from a spiritual perspective and simply being a human being that has also made mistakes, everybody, regardless of what has happened to them, what they have done, at their very like base of who they are still a human being that is worthy of love. But our society kind of creates narratives about like who is deserving of love and respect and who isn't. And we pick and choose like, okay, that person's worthy of love because they're attractive. That person is worthy of love because they got a lot of money. And it's like, if you're not either one of those, then you don't deserve love. Like, who do you think you are just thinking you deserve love? Like, no, like that is not the case. We all deserve love, regardless of if we're attractive, if we're not attractive, if we have money, if we don't have money, we're all worthy of love. Okay. I feel like that is just a message that I need to get through to somebody. You're worthy of love. Gosh darn it. Okay, anyways. And then if anybody disagrees with me, I'm gonna come through the screen. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, anyways, being a little silly gooby goober over here. Okay. Two of Cups. So I'm getting a couple of different messages with this Two of Cups. I'm getting, first off, I feel like somebody's gonna get mad at me for saying this. But I'm just gonna say it because that's what's coming through. While you're feeling really heartbroken about what took place with that person that you wanted to go places with, you could be, either when you're going through that sort of funk, depression, sadness, heartbreak energy, you could come across your person, like your true soulmate. And honestly, it's possible that maybe you overlook them because you're so wrapped up in that past person, you know? So it almost gives me this energy of like, maybe at first you overlook them, but then maybe you come back, like, comes back around, and then you're like, oh, like when you're in the right sort of frame of mind. It feels like there's like this like wheel almost where it's like the two of you meet, but maybe it's like in passing, or you're just not in the right frame of mind to be thinking about that sort of thing with this person. And then like time passes, the two of you reconnect, and you're like, oh wait, this person's actually pretty cool, because you're like in a completely different mindset. That could be a message for somebody out there. But I'm also getting that this heartbreak could lead you to trying to seek out your higher self, and becoming that person. Like who is your higher self, and who do you want that higher self to be? What do you want that higher self to look like? What do you want that higher self to possess? How can you start to embody that energy now? How can you start planning to become that higher self, and what you would like that higher self to have? Could definitely kind of push you in a direction of self rediscovery, like rediscovering yourself again, your own purpose, your own significance, purpose, I'm getting. And that could definitely be super healing for you, focusing on that. Also, like maybe even building up the idea that you deserve reciprocal love, and you don't deserve to be in a connection that is one-sided, where you're putting in all the effort and the other person is not. You deserve something balanced. You deserve something reciprocal. And filling your brain with the knowledge that that person does exist, that you will find somebody that puts in just as much energy and effort as you do. That could be very helpful. I'm getting positive affirmations sort of energy. Maybe subliminal videos on YouTube to sort of brainwash yourself into believing that you're deserving. Could be helpful for someone. Ace of Swords. So there could be some sort of communication, or there could be just an idea that pops into your mind. So this could be a communication with that person. Maybe, well, I mean, it's probably gonna, this storyline that I'm getting is probably gonna relate differently to everyone out there. And they may be in certain time frames, like they may be in certain time frames along this storyline that I'm describing. Like somebody out there could have just gone through this really horrible heartbreak and maybe currently dealing with that heartbreak. And some people, maybe that horrible heartbreak happened a year ago and they've completely moved on by now, you know? So it could be possible that maybe you either bump into this person that is like your like an actual reciprocal soulmate sort of situation. Maybe you have a conversation with that person. And depending on where you're at in terms of your journey, so it could be like you bump into this person, but because you're still heartbroken and thinking about the other person, it's maybe like a more of like a superficial conversation. You kind of like had a little bit of a conversation, but go on with your life and you're not really thinking too much about this person. And then maybe they come back around and then you're actually opening up to them a little bit more and you get like some sense of something deeper there. And then like if you are already healed from that heartbreak, maybe this person's like coming back into your life and you're having a conversation with that person and it makes something click inside your mind like, wait a second, we actually have a lot in common. This person's really interesting. This person's really good at like conversation and they're very like, they can help, like they can, you know, there's just certain people that are easy to talk to and they always have something interesting to say, or they have like deep conversations that are like very nice and refreshing. That could definitely be the energy there where it's like, oh, like a light bulb moment kind of goes off and you're like, wait a second, I didn't think too much about this person before, but now I'm starting to think maybe we got something. Then the Six of Wands follows that Ace of Swords. And the Six of Wands is all about like triumph, being seen as somebody that is triumphant, success. You could be coming into a time of success, maybe with that person, or maybe in a completely unrelated area of your life. But it feels very positive. It feels very good. Feels like you would be feeling really good in that moment. That could be the payoff of this connection with this person. And in terms of your own kind of self-work, you could be coming into a time in which you're seeing the payoff of that investment into yourself. And maybe that investment into yourself helps you build the confidence to explore certain ideas, and those ideas lead to your success. And then we have the Five of Pentacles. And it feels like that's just like such a interesting energy because it almost feels like an outlier in a certain regard. Because it's just like things are good, and then Five of Pentacles. And so that almost makes me think maybe something's triggering you. And it almost feels like, yeah, it feels almost like a trigger rather than maybe something real. Like it could be like a trigger for your, something could be triggering your own insecurities, making you feel bad about yourself rather than something in your 3D actually reflecting that to you. I don't know. It feels like a little bit like that to me. Or maybe there's like feelings of being isolated or feelings of being alone or hopeless, but that not being real to the reality of your situation and not actually reflected in your 3D environment. But it's almost like you think it is, or you're fearing that it is. I think I might clarify that, but let me just see what's at the bottom of the deck first. So we do have that King of Swords again. That could also be maybe a message there about maybe if you're maybe a little too stoic, a little bit too hard to read, maybe a little bit too standoffish, people might get the wrong impression. And if you are looking for love, maybe there's a message there about maybe trying to be a little bit more open, trying to be a little bit more vulnerable, even if it is scary, even if it is something that makes you uncomfortable. Because it's almost like, even if you Like if you're in this energy and you do like somebody, if you're not expressing that in any way towards that person, that you may be interested or you're curious about them, or you'd like to see where this goes, that person may get the wrong idea and be like, well, that person clearly doesn't like me because they don't smile at me, they don't ask me questions about myself, or they don't they don't express how they're feeling about me, so I have no idea what they're thinking or feeling. That could just be like maybe a little bit of like a message of like, just be aware of that if you have noticed yourself being a little too closed off or a little bit too stoic, where you're just like straight faced all the time and people are like, I don't know if that person likes me, or if they're just whatever. It could be misread and misinterpreted potentially, so maybe just be aware of that if that is something that you experience. Let's see what's underneath that King of Swords. King of Pentacles. So I do keep getting this energy of this King of Swords being more so of a mask for you, hiding who you truly are. And it feels like this is what you feel like people want to see. You almost feel like people don't want to see who you truly are. They only want to see this mask. And so you're presenting as this mask, but this mask is either such a small part of who you actually are, or is not as genuine as it's not as genuine as you truly are. And something inside of you is like crying to be seen, heard, expressed. I really do feel like you're like, there's like this deepness, this depth, this like deep richness about you that is just craving to be seen and put out there and expressed. And it's almost like people may feel like they have to dig in order to get to this person. And maybe it would be easier to just show that person rather than making people work for that version of yourself, if that makes any sense. Because it's almost like at first glance people may only see this and like completely look past you because you're showing up in a certain energy, but then it's like underneath you have this richness, this depth, this beauty that is just being concealed, and it deserves to be seen and experienced. Also, embracing your specific skills and abilities could be helpful too. Being confident in your skills and abilities and your talents. Let's see what's underneath that King of Pentacles. Nine of Wands. So yeah, Nine of Wands. I do think that a lot of this King of Swords energy, being that mask, has to do with your past and the ways in which you were told you should show up and the ways in which you shouldn't show up, and how that's just a bunch of BS. And maybe you have to deconstruct that within yourself a little bit. Because I really do feel like you are a very beautiful person. You have a lot of great qualities hidden within you, but that's the thing, they're hidden. And I feel like you should show up more unapologetically and authentically, regardless of if you worry about being judged for who that is or being that person. Because the right people are going to love that energy that is true, that is genuine to who you are. Yeah. And then it's like the more you embrace who you truly are, and it's kind of funny because it's almost like in certain regards, I don't know if this happens with other people, but like the things that I was teased for or bullied for growing up are qualities about me that a lot of people actually really like about me. And it's like, it almost is like a act of rebellion almost to not try to suppress those parts of yourself that people have told you are ugly or unlikable, but rather embrace them and show up unapologetically with those qualities. And you're going to have much more authentic interactions with others, and people are going to genuinely love that about you, regardless of what it was that you were told was not cute or likable or whatever. Yeah, so anyways, I want to clarify this Five of Pentacles because it feels a little bit interesting to me. Okay, thank you very much. Anything else? Okay. Whoa. Interesting. What the heck, dude? Well, apparently they really wanted me to clarify this Five of Pentacles because a lot came out. So clarifying that Five of Pentacles, the first card that popped out was the Wheel of Fortune in the reverse. That feels to me like a resistance to divine timing. That feels to me like you see something coming towards you that you probably actually want or that will serve you, but instead of embracing it, you're like, actually, I'm not ready. Let me go down this other path. Let me distract myself with something else. Like you see something changing for the better, but you want to avoid it. And Spirit's like, yes, this is your manifestation or something. And you're like, actually, I don't. Yeah, it really does feel like that. Like you're kind of like, and if this does have to do with like a love situation, it is possible that you get scared. Maybe you're the one that develops the cold feet. So it's like that past situation with that past person that had cold feet. Maybe you're now taking on that sort of energy. And that energy is really just based around fear. Like maybe fear of being unlovable, fear of maybe actually meeting your soulmate. And you're like, am I actually ready for that? Am I actually prepared? Have I prepared myself well enough? Am I at the right place in my life for it? Like it feels like you could definitely be kind of psyching yourself out with something because it feels like it should be positive, but you see it as an attack or like something that's not safe. Like a handshake with spikes. I don't know why, but that's like a visual I'm getting. It's like you go in for a handshake with somebody, but they have a glove with spikes on it, and you go to grab their hand, and it's like, ow, why would you do that to me? It's like something that should be good, should be positive, but for whatever reason, you're scared of it. And maybe trying to avoid it, even if it's what's meant for you, what Spirit has in mind for you, maybe even what you have in mind for yourself, but for whatever reason, you're like, But after that Wheel of Fortune in the reverse, we have all of this goodness here. We have the Star card, Queen of Cups, the Empress, Ace of Pentacles. Bottom of the deck is Five of Wands. But but there is almost another storyline I'm getting with that Wheel of Fortune in the reverse. The other storyline, if you're not trying to avoid something that's actually meant for you. So in my mind, I'm getting a visual of a GPS that's saying recalculating. You know, like if you're, driving to a certain location, listening to the GPS, and it's like, yeah, turn blah, 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 blah up here in 1 mile. Turn to the blah, blah, blah. And you like pass that, and you keep going, and the GPS is like, okay, well, you ignored me, so I'm recalculating. Like there's like this interesting energy that I'm picking up on where it's like maybe you do something out of the ordinary or do something unexpected. You embrace your free will and you do something that maybe spirit wasn't expecting you to do, or something that maybe you weren't predicted to do, and you're just like, I'm going to do this thing just for the heck of it, and then something amazing happens at that point. I don't like, because like this is really good stuff. So I'm almost even getting like okay, I'm also getting this other image in my mind where it's like if you're walking home and you always take the same path home every single day from work, say, and instead of taking that same old path you always take, you decide, like, you know what, I'm kind of feeling like I want to do something different today. I don't know why, but I just do. And you take a way longer way to go home, and you see such beautiful sights. You know, maybe you encounter some little wildlife creatures and you're like, wow, that's amazing and so magical. And you have like a really good trip home and you're like, you know, that actually made my day and that made me feel so much better. Like something could happen on that journey, on that trip, that really opens your mind, opens your eyes to something really beautiful, and that is actually meant for you. So that's the other thing I'm getting. That could be like a storyline for somebody else. It's like either something is coming towards you that is meant for you and you're scared of it and actively avoiding it, or you do something unexpected and it actually like sort of domino effect like goes and influences a lot of other really great things to transpire in your life. So I feel like that could definitely be a message to like not be afraid to mix things up, especially if you're just feeling like it. And it's something like that where you're just like, you know, I'll take a different way home today. And maybe you bump into the love of your life. Like literally, you never know what's going to happen. And I feel like that could actually be a really positive message for somebody out there. Do something that you've never done before, or that you, yeah, like just spice things up with doing something random. I feel like that could actually be very serving for you. Anyhow, so this could be love related for sure, because there's that Queen of Cups, the Empress. You were showing up as more of a masculine energy earlier, but obviously that doesn't have to be related to your gender in any way. So this could be a counterpart for you. Not necessarily, it could be your own energy. But with that Star card, it feels like something's fated to happen here. Like something that opens your eyes to your purpose. Something that, like, your life will never be the same, but in a good way. And it's because of some sort of random occurrence, it feels like. Or some sort of random action that you do that leads to this life-changing opportunity, this feeling of purpose that will forever change your outlook on life. Like this feels like super big here. And it's so interesting that all of this is clarifying the Five of Pentacles, which is typically feelings of insecurity, feeling left out, feeling down and out. But then there's all this positive energy. So that's, yeah. So, okay. I think I'm going to go back to that opinion that I had of it feels more so like something is triggering those feelings of insecurity, of feeling left out within you, and it may not actually be reflecting in your 3D, you just think it is reflecting that because it's triggering those past scars. But like this feels like super positive. And so I think that you're going to be surrounded by really good things, but maybe inside you're a little bit scared or a little bit triggered. And I would just say to maybe try your best not to believe that inner voice of doubt, those feelings of insecurity, of feeling worthless, of feeling not valued. And it does. And I feel like the Star card, especially the way it's coming out before this Queen of Cups and the Empress, to me, it feels like a fated encounter with someone. Like this is happening, but maybe randomly. Like you don't see this coming, I don't think. Like this is like some sort of like encounter that's very significant for you. To be honest, it doesn't even have to necessarily be that this is specifically a soulmate or romantic partner. I'm almost even getting maternal vibes potentially. So this could even be like an encounter with like maybe a future mentor. Somebody that opens your eyes to like something that is like perfect for you, but maybe you never even realized that that was possible to do as a career or something. And you encounter this person and they open your mind, they expand your awareness. You're like, what the heck? That's a job that I can do and get paid for it? What? Like it feels like something like that. And this person may become like your mentor because they have, and I'm getting a maternal energy, but apply it to any gender. It's somebody that's very kind. Not somebody that's going to be like, you know, being rude and being like, oh my God, it's so easy. Do this and this and this. And no, it's not going to be that sort of energy at all. It's going to be somebody that is very kind, very understanding, patient. Somebody that is full of abundance. And it's like maybe you want that abundance as well because they show up in this loving, abundant way. And you're like, I want to be just like that person. And maybe you're inspired by this person. Maybe their life story is inspiring to you. Maybe their role of what they do is very inspiring to you. Like it literally does feel like something is this person, like whether it's a soulmate or a mentor or maybe just a positive influence, it feels like this is going to be super significant. It's going to open your mind and it's going to like, maybe that's what the Wheel of Fortune is talking about. It's like maybe it even shifts your complete direction. Maybe you thought you were going to go down one path, but then something randomly happens and suddenly you're like, wait a second. You know, I was never really fully invested in that path. Now I want to do this path. This seems way more my style. Like it feels like it's like completely shifting your focus, your goals. It's like significant. It's very significant, whatever this is. And it's meant to take place and it's meant to happen and influence you because it's leading you to your divine path, your purpose, your feelings of feeling authentic, true to yourself, embracing who you truly are, showing up as who you truly are, not being afraid. Like there's a lot of good stuff that comes with this. And so this could be a romantic partner, this could be a mentor. Maybe this could even just be I don't know why I'm getting this, but it could even just be a little old lady. I don't know why, but I'm getting like this little old lady sitting on her porch. And maybe you're like walking by this little old lady's house and the two of you somehow just like strike up a conversation. And this little old lady, maybe she's in a rocking chair. She's just talking to you about her life, and maybe you're talking about your life, and maybe she gives you some sort of words of wisdom. And those words of wisdom completely change your outlook on life. Like, there's something super significant about this encounter. And so I would say definitely don't be afraid to open up to other people. And opening your ears, opening your heart to other people, opening your mind to other people and what they have to say, like their own experiences, how you can apply their own experiences to your own life. Like, it could even be like, maybe a sweet little old lady is like, I never did this one thing and I always wish that I had when I was younger. And you're like, oh, I can do that. Why don't I do that? Like, why have I never done that, And maybe, it was just a small little part of a conversation, but maybe it has the hugest impact on you. And you're like, actually, yeah, I'm going to do that thing. And it could really serve you. It could really do something really amazing for you. So yeah, definitely embrace that. And then the last card that came out was the Ace of Pentacles. And so, new opportunity. You investing in something maybe for the first time. Planting those seeds. Also the path here. You're going down your path. What is truly meant for you. You're finding your way. You're finding your purpose. You are finding what is truly important to you. And what is truly meant for you. Like, so I feel like that's a huge thing here. That's like a huge subplot. Is something amazing is going to happen. Some sort of fated encounter you're going to be coming into. And it's going to redirect you. And change your life. Like, in the best way possible. I really do feel that. Like, something is literally going to change your life. But it's like exactly what you need in the timing that you need it. And it's going to, like, you're never going to be the same. You're never going to be the same again, but it's perfect and it's what you need. Oh my gosh, that's so cool. Oh, I really hope that if somebody experiences that they come back to this video and comment their story, because, like, I would love to know. Or if somebody has already experienced this, because, anybody that sees this reading could maybe be at a different part of the timeline. So maybe you've already interacted with this person that changed your life and changed your direction in life. I would love to know if you had some sort of significant encounter like that. Okay. Bottom of the deck is the Five of Wands. So it feels like in a conflict, and I feel like that definitely goes with that Five of Pentacles we saw. Yeah, so I do feel like you have that moment of inner conflict for sure. But let me see what's underneath that. Eight of Wands. Okay, so I feel like, honestly, that is probably the communication that you have with this fated encounter that, like, changes your life. I think that's what this Eight of Wands is referring to. You have some sort of communication, and it has, like, a very positive impact on you. And maybe the way you think, that inner conflict, maybe it helps you find some sort of inner peace that you haven't had. Maybe you're no longer going to doubt yourself. You're going to finally just go for things. You're going to try your best not to overthink those opportunities that are coming towards you. Yeah, I think there's going to be some sort of significant communication that really changes and shifts your mind, shifts how you're feeling on the inside for sure. Let me see what's underneath that Eight of Wands. Four of Swords. So there could be a time of reflection after you, and almost like meditating on the information that you receive, or the whatever the conversation is about with this person. You could take some time to really reflect on that, really sit with it. So maybe maybe the communication doesn't at first hit you like a ton of bricks and like, oh my God, I see the light. Like, it may not start out that way, but maybe when you think about it in hindsight, like maybe you're like, oh, that was a cute little old lady, I'm gonna go home now, and you're like just chilling in bed before you go to bed at night, and you're just like, wait a second, that gives me an amazing idea, and I can't believe I never thought of it before, or something. Or, you know, what that little old lady said to me today, that kind of makes me want to do this thing, and maybe I should. Yeah, you know what, I will. You know, and like it feels like kind of like that sort of energy. So it's like you have this conversation, maybe you don't think too much about it in the moment, you're just like, oh, cute little old lady, okay. And then you're like, wait a second, I can't believe I've never thought of this before. Or, you know, that little old lady told me something that I never really thought about before. Or made me open my mind to something that I, you know, maybe never did or would like to do. I don't know, something. Definitely feels like it becomes clearer in hindsight how significant that conversation was or is to you in your journey. Okay, I've been like jabbering, is that even a word? I've been definitely yapping a lot in this reading, so sorry. It's probably gonna be like 2 hours long, but dolly. Okay, let's go into the Four of Swords here. This one. Please and thank you, Spirit. What is the collective creating during this time with this Four of Swords? Please and thank you. I do feel like resting is going to be very significant for you. Maybe a lot of good ideas come out of that. A lot of good ideas, inspiration, motivation, projects, ideas about projects could come up while you're resting and taking care of yourself. Okay. So the Eight of Wands came out for this Four of Swords, but I think it came out in the reverse, and then for whatever reason I kind of like snatched it up, and it came, like without thinking, it came out in the upright when I snatched it up. So I think I'm gonna read it both ways. I'm gonna read it as a reversal and an upright. So in the reverse, let me read it that way first. Honestly, I'm getting with that Eight of Wands in the reverse, like maybe there was a conversation that you were expecting, and maybe you were expecting for it to be super enlightening, but for whatever reason it didn't hit you that way. Maybe it was a disappointing conversation. Maybe it did not give you that sense of clarity like you thought it would, and maybe there's a bit of disappointment around that. Could also be a bit of fear around, like, what if I never get this communication? What if I never get this outside inspiration that changes my life? And then you're starting to overthink that, and you're starting to be like, oh my gosh, that's never gonna come. What am I gonna do? Overthinking about that. But I feel like that since it's clarifying that Four of Swords, it's almost like if you take a step back from those fears and just focus on grounding yourself, centering yourself, you'll like come into a flow state, which will allow those things to come in much easier than when you're like expecting them to happen or trying to force them to happen almost. But yeah, that could be what it is in the reverse. And then upright definitely could be that conversation coming in and impacting you in a positive way. And I almost feel like maybe that was even intentional, like the way that it like came out in the reverse and then upright. So maybe at first you start to doubt if this communication's ever going to happen, or if this communication's ever going to inspire you or whatever. And then maybe suddenly it does. Suddenly that communication does come in, or suddenly that significance or meaning that you wanted that communication to have, suddenly it hits you. So I feel like maybe you could, maybe even, yeah, it could be a little bit of you overthinking a certain situation, thinking like, oh, it's never going to happen. Oh, I can't believe this never happened. When is this going to happen? Like, and then suddenly it does. And you're like, okay, maybe I was overthinking that, or spiraling a little bit. And maybe I didn't have to. Because I've done that a million times where I like overthink something and I start to worry about it to the point of like literally freaking out. I'm like, oh my God, this is going to happen and this is going to blah. And then suddenly whatever that was that I was freaking out about happens. And it's just like, oh, that worked out way easier than I thought it was going to. So I kind of overreacted a little bit. Okay. Kind of that sort of situation. So maybe that's just like, be patient with yourself, be patient with this process, the timing, and things are going to work out just as you need them to, or as they're supposed to. And then the other card that came out is the Six of Cups, upright. That feels like reflecting on past interactions with others. So maybe this is even in terms of like this communication being like really revolutionary. It could maybe even have something to do with like a memory that you have. Maybe it was a literal maternal figure in your life, whether that be an auntie, a mom, a grandmother. Doesn't even have to be blood related. Maybe somebody that you saw as sort of that sort of figure in your life. Maybe when you were a kid and you're like recalling a certain conversation that you had in the past with that wise older woman. Or maybe it's not even a woman, it could be like anybody that you just see as like that very gentle, kind energy. And you recall a conversation with that person and suddenly it hits you. Like, oh, that's what they meant. Or, it's been a long time since I thought about that. But now that I'm thinking about it, and, I'm at the age that I am now, I've lived this life with all the experiences that I've experienced. I'm having a completely different perspective of that conversation than I did when it first took place. Like it kind of reminds me of like in my teenage years how, and this may sound, well, it's a typical teenage experience, I think, where, I would be going to see my great grandma. And I was a teenager, so obviously I had way better things to do, obviously, like text my friends, whatever teenagers do, I don't know. Like hang out with friends, talk to friends, I don't know, kiss boys. I don't know, whatever teenagers do. But I'm going to admit that I did not appreciate those moments with my great grandma as much as I probably could have, should have, especially because my great grandma is no longer with me. And I think back to certain things about her life that I would have liked to ask questions about. I would have liked to hear more about her story. There's a lot of things that in hindsight makes those encounters special. But in the moment, if you're just like a young teenager and all you have on your mind is like, oh, this is cutting into my social media time, or this is cutting into, my whatever, things that are way more important because I'm a teenager and I, have things that are way more important than family obligations. But then in hindsight, later on, you look back and you're like, oh, I could have asked her this question, or I could have learned more about her experience growing up. Those types of things, And so it could be something like that where you're recalling a conversation that you had with somebody significantly, or somebody that was significant in your life. Or maybe, was somebody that you kind of did take for granted. And in hindsight, you're reflecting on it and you get a completely different perspective, and you, like, suddenly that conversation is more impactful, meaningful, and significant. So I feel like that's going to be part of this Four of Swords moment, is you reflecting on your past interactions with others, and what did those past experiences with others teach you? What are the positives that you can gain out of those interactions? And how can that perspective shift your life and maybe your own trajectory for your future? Yeah, okay. And then with the King of Swords at the bottom of the deck, that has definitely been coming through a lot in this reading, King of Swords. Not being afraid to tap into your emotions, I feel like, is a big message with that King of Swords. Because the King of Swords, I feel like, typically avoids the emotions, but maybe you're supposed to feel your emotions and embrace them. Let's see what's underneath that King of Swords. Now it's the King of Cups again. So yeah, embrace your emotions. Realize that embracing your emotions does not make you a weak person, and it actually makes you very strong. Emotional strength is a strength. Emotional expression and emotional vulnerability is a strength. We're just raised in a society that teaches us that it's not that. We're taught a lot of things that aren't true. And it's our job to undo all that programming, I guess. So yeah, underneath the King of Swords is the King of Cups. I want to see what's underneath the King of Cups. Three of Swords. Yeah, so you've been through a lot of heartbreak, probably a lot of judgment from others, bad interactions with others that have left a bad taste in your mouth when it comes to being emotional, when it comes to being emotionally vulnerable, when it comes to being emotionally open, when it comes to being just truthful about your emotions in general. You have been programmed and trained to be a certain way, but it's not the way in which you probably feel the most happy, the most fulfilled, the most authentic. And so maybe you're on your path to kind of figuring out who is that authentic version of yourself and how can you embrace that and no longer believe in those past experiences that told you like those parts of you were weird or unlikable. Yeah. And like learning how to embrace those true parts of you. At the bottom of this deck is the Four of Pentacles. There could definitely be some sort of like unhealthy attachments that you're shedding. Maybe ways of thinking about things. Maybe being closed off to others. You're trying to shed that feeling of being closed off to others and maybe, kept to yourself. Let's see what's underneath that Four of Pentacles. The Chariot, that's so funny because when I saw that Fool card earlier, I was getting that Chariot energy in my mind of like, let's go on an adventure kind of energy, So yeah, I feel like you're kind of leaving this behind of being closed off, maybe stuck in a certain way of thinking or being, and then you're like shutting that off and you're like, you know what, let's just go for it. Let's explore. Let's do something exciting. Let's just see what the road ahead has in store for us, right? Let me see what's underneath that Chariot card. The Tower. So it's like when you embrace this freedom, when you embrace this energy, this inspiration to go, to do things, I feel like significant change is going to take place in your life. And I feel like it's going to be very positive change. For sure. Yes. So it's like that's going to be serving you. Things are going to shake up for you. And the energies are going to shift. And I think it's exactly what you need in the timing that you need it. That's like coming across loud and clear in this reading. Okay, so now that I've yammered on long enough, let's see what the Oracle has in store for you. Please and thank you, Spirit. Anything else to add to this reading for the collective? Please and thank you. Please and thank you so much. Okay. Anything else? Anything else? Okay, that was it. La 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 la. All right, so we have release, helpless and hopeless, trust, and then bottom of the deck we got, that's not one of those cards, strengthening bonds. Okay, so that release. I wonder if this is the death card. Anyways, I'll look at the book after, I think. But anyways, release. So you probably are releasing a lot of like those narratives of the past, those messages that you received from others that have impacted your ability to trust in yourself, to have confidence in yourself, to be authentic. You're releasing all of that. You're letting that go. It's no longer serving you. And you're ready to begin anew and start fresh. Definitely is giving me death card vibes of like that rebirth, renewal, endings that lead to new beginnings. So you could be going through some sort of major transformation like that. The helpless and hopeless card, I feel like that could definitely be what you're shedding, that feeling of hopelessness, that feeling of helplessness, because you are way more capable and way more strong. Like capable keeps coming through my mind. Like you are so much more than your fears and insecurities. You have so much that you can pursue, do, succeed in. And maybe you're starting to realize that and you're like, okay, I need to get rid of this because this is only holding me back. This is only affecting my ability to pursue what I want to pursue. The Trust card, which is the Fool card. So double Fool card we have in this reading. You're embracing that trust for sure. That trust in spirit, that trust in yourself, trust in your purpose. And I do feel this sense of just doing it. Going with the flow and doing it, regardless of how you're afraid. And I think good things are going to come out of that. Strengthening bonds at the bottom of the deck. So I think you're strengthening bonds not only with other people, but with yourself. You're like, or rather, I am capable. I can do this thing. I can believe in myself and I can succeed. And I will. And maybe you're also strengthening bonds with other people that you feel like are significant in your life. Oh yeah, I'm gonna just quickly look to see that release card. I feel like maybe, yeah, it is death. Yeah, so definitely major transformation, but I feel like it's all happening for the best, and you're going to be a very good, very successful on this new path that you're going down. And good things are going to happen. Very significant things are going to take place for you, and it's all very exciting. And yeah, so that is the reading. I really hope that you enjoyed this, and I hope that it resonated. If it did resonate, feel free to like, comment, share, and subscribe. If you subscribe, you can become a part of the Hive Collective, because my name is Bee. Bees live in hives, and you can become an honorary bee like me, and we can be a little bee family together. If you like my readings and you'd like to see more, be sure to click that bell icon down below so that YouTube actually notifies you next time I upload. And if anybody's made it to this part, I forgot that I was supposed to include a question at the end of this. So my question is, are you exploring any new creative endeavors? Is there anything that you are excited to pursue during this time? And there was another one that I was going to ask. Maybe I would ask, like, have you ever had a moment like that where you have encountered somebody, had a conversation, and then that conversation like helped you to see things from a different perspective or helped expand your mind, your awareness? And what was that like? I feel like those are some good questions. Obviously, you don't have to answer them if you're not comfortable, but feel free to comment down below because I would love to see that. And yeah, thank you so much for being here. I truly appreciate you, and I can't wait to see you in the next one.